Hey, welcome back to the LeBauer Show. Today we're going to talk about buying back your time. Here's what I mean. You're going to buy back your time. Your time is valuable. You are giving a lot of it away to tasks that you shouldn't be doing, to time that you shouldn't be spending, etc. And we're actually going to leverage that. And we're going to talk about hiring. But hiring is scary. So first, let's talk about buying back your time. What do I mean by buying back your time? Like I'm saying is, we need to pay money so that someone else can do the more menial tasks that you do, so you can focus on the things that are important: treating your patients, growing your business, developing a marketing plan, spending time with your family. When you look at the stages of business, you're going to be an employee. When you move out of being an employee, you can can build yourself a job. You can then move into being a business owner and then an investor. And I'm not going to go through all of those, but just think about this. So you're an employee. Great. You clock in, you clock out. When you build a job, you can basically build yourself a job. I mean, you can start a business, but you basically build yourself a job, which is what I did. And some days it's hard to get out. Seriously, it's hard to get out of. Because building yourself a job means that when you work, you make money. When you don't work, you don't make money. You're by yourself. You're a solo therapist, like a solo cash practice owner. Really, I mean, you own a business, but you have really built yourself a job because you're still trading time for money. It's like almost like you can't take a vacation without taking a pay cut. We don't have, and do I still have some of that? A little bit. I mean, there's some things I do that require Aaron, but I can take a vacation without taking a pay cut, and I'm not trading time for money 100% of the time. There's still a few instances where I do that, where I do some one-on-one consulting and coaching. I do like my coaching business doesn't run without me, although I don't trade time for money in that either. But like depending on your definition, but the main thing I want you to understand is that while building a business and starting a business can be very freeing, it still can trap you. And so this is kind of what happened to me. I started my cash practice in 2009. Remember, back then, I know there was no one teaching other people how to start a cash practice. I certainly had a business coach who was a PT, and he helped me set up I'd already set up my massage business as an MFR practice when I moved to town in 2004. And I think I was working with Scott somewhere around 2005, 2006, and he taught me how to build a lead magnet and do some other things. And he was a PT doing myofascial release, and he'd studied with John Barnes as well as me, and that's how I met him. And he mentored 3 or 4 of us through 3 months and setting up some of these things, and it was just great. So I kind of had a coach, but not really. He had hired some other people, but they were other specialists, and it's like there's no other MFR specialists in Greensboro. And it was like, okay. No one really told me I could be successful just running a physical therapy practice. And so, and if you've heard or read my book, or you've heard some of the podcasts before, you know that that's how it was. I got out of school, my CIs were like, you'll never be successful. No one will pay more than their copay for PT. And so it was a case of not me not believing in myself, but so many people around me didn't believe it was possible. I didn't ever have a vision to build a clinic that had 5 or 6 PTs, that had 3 or 4 locations, or that was, one in Greensboro, one in Winston-Salem, one in High Point, which are the 2 towns nearby, the 2 bigger towns nearby. I didn't have that as a vision. My vision was treat my patients the way that they needed to be treated because they were being let down by the system and by other physical therapists and orthopedic surgeons, etc. So I built that, and it was good. And I thought about hiring. I was busy. I was like, should I hire another PT or hire an admin? But here was the problem that I had is I didn't want to be responsible. This is what I felt. I didn't be responsible for someone else's income and lifestyle when I wasn't sure that I was going to be successful. And it wasn't that I wasn't sure I was going to be successful. It's no one had showed me the path, and everyone around me on internet forums at industry meetings, etc. Was like, this isn't going to work. I'm surprised it hasn't failed yet. Even though I was starting to connect and network with other people around the country doing it, there weren't many people around the country who had multiple employees. There were a few, and I saw that could be a thing. And I was like, but one of them was like, yeah, it's hard. He's like, I had 7 employees and now I make more money just by myself than I did 7. I was like, okay, so I'm not going to hire because it costs more money. But that's a management problem and a business model problem, and probably what they charge and some other issues there. But I would get those. So I was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do it. I got to this point though, where, I was like, I feel like it's important. Like, I'm starting to help other people in build cash practices. And I think it was 2015 that I hired my first person. So I launched my course in 2014, and I was able to do that, working, seeing my 20 something patients a week and do that. And that started growing. And I was trying to get to like APTA events and PPS, CSM. I was trying to get the CSM in the private practice section meeting. I knew I wasn't going to go to learn things, but I wanted to go to connect with other PTs around the country, because the PTs here in Greensboro, who, I won't say they sucked, because y'all are probably listening. Y'all didn't suck. But it was like, it sucked because what sucked was that I didn't connect with any of them. Like, they were either working as employees somewhere, or the private practice owners were doing their own thing and they felt like there was competition hanging out with me. And that's what sucked. Like, I want to blame the person, but it was really, the thing. It was like, oh, this sucks. Like, I can't even do that. There was even a there's like a mentorship list from the private practice section, like, website. And I was a member. I'm a recovering member or something like that. I was a member of the private practice section. It was like, hey, find a mentor. And I reached out to the mentor, and after one phone call, he agreed to meet, and then he was like, no, I'm going to cancel. He was like, it'd be a conflict of interest for me to help you. And yet he was a half hour away in Burlington. So it's a 35-minute drive. He owns an in-network practice, and I own a cash practice. And I'm like, how is that a conflict of interest? That's like called scarcity model. So here, the problem I entered was basically, I want to go to these events, these meetings with other private practice business owners. Like, I deserve to be in that room. Although maybe they're teaching you how to shake a doctor's hand, and I know I wasn't going to go for that. But I wanted to be there. Okay, so if you think about it, if you ever considered going to a PPS event, I've been to 3 of them, I think. 1 as a student and at least 2 as a professional, but it took me a while to make it work. It's because it starts on a Wednesday, ends on Saturday morning, and it's at like the Broadmoor Hotel in Colorado Springs. And the Broadmoor is a $250 or $300 a night hotel. At the Broadmoor specifically, there's not like a Marriott or a Holiday Inn or anything across the street where you can stay somewhere less expensive and walk over. It's kind of isolated. It's kind of like a little resort. Like, yeah, I could have rented a car and stayed somewhere cheaper in town, driven there. One of my best friends' parents live in Colorado Springs, so maybe I could have stayed with them. Okay, but then if it starts on Wednesday, I got to leave Tuesday evening. And I'm going to miss Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of patients. And if that's 15 patients times, let's say, $150 to $200 something. I mean, at that time I was charging, I think, $150. That's $3,000 worth of income that I'm losing to go there, plus the $500 airline flight and $500 in hotels, food, and that's a $4,000, $5,000 trip. And so that actually costs me money to go, not more. Oh, plus don't forget the $600, $800 ticket to the conference. So that's, it's like, okay, I got to spend $5,000 to go there and not learn anything that I'm remotely interested. I'm just going to meet other PTs and network. Like, that didn't make sense. Con Ed, similar. I mean, let's say it's all day Friday. You got to go on a Thursday. So it's a little easier to swallow because you're like, well, I got to leave Thursday, and it's all day Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and come back Sunday evening. And I miss one day of work, maybe half a day Thursday. So that's easier to manipulate, but it still costs, you want to go to the right one. It's, an MFR one was, I think at the time, $600. Maybe it's $1,000 now. Dry needling is $1,300 to $1,500. Plus you got to fly somewhere. Like, do you want to just go to the thing down the road because it's convenient, or do you want to go work with the person that, is the authority in that technique? Like, that's what I want to do. Okay, so that's easier because it's on the weekend, but still, when I'm gone, I'm taking a pay cut to go there because I'm not seeing patients. Here's what happened. You may or may not know Paul Goff. Paul is a friend of mine. He's also British cash practice owner and business coach, and he's helped thousands of PTs in America as well. And I've known Paul for a long time. And when I first met Paul, was sitting in my office here, probably 2014 or maybe early 2015, but probably 2014. I can't really remember it. I have to look at the calendar, but Paul was messaged me, and we'd chat a little bit online. He said, "Hey, I'm coming to Charlotte to work with a private client, and I'd love to. I'll be driving through. I'd love to meet you." And I was like, "Sweet." And so we found a time. I think it was like a Friday afternoon. I can't remember if he was going or coming. And we sat in the lobby of my clinic, and we sat there, and we're just chatting. I was like, "Hey, let me show you what I'm doing." He's like, "Here's what I'm doing," and I'm showing him my active campaign account and my course, and he's showing me his Infusionsoft and his, stuff he's doing for his private clients. And Paul and I, it was interesting. I started with like low ticket courses, and he started with high ticket one-on-one days, and then we kind of like went in the opposite direction. Then Paul started launching courses, and I started doing more high ticket masterminds and and stuff like that. And I think like Paul and I did a lot of events together with Greg Todd, and we put together some mastermind events and in-person events. And I attended one of Paul's things, and he worked with me in some of mine. It was awesome. So that's Paul. Paul's great. Shout out to Paul. But so here's what happened. I'm sitting there next to Paul, and Paul's like me. He's he's into soccer. He's into fitness. He's fun. He's cool to hang out with. He's not old and stuffy. He's not one of these people that tells you can't X, Y, and Z. I'm better than you, and that, which is most of the PTs I didn't get encountered in business. Even ones that I recognized, I'd see them at the airport, and they're like, "Oh, hey, you again." There's one of the owners of a couple practices here in New York and a couple other places, and I'd see him at the airport, and he's like, "Oh, hey," like Paul and I are sitting down, and he's telling me what he's doing about his business. And I looked and it was like, hey, Paul's like me. I can relate to him, and he has employees. And I was sitting there going, why can't I? Because I got to see someone like me. And so I think the thing is it was Paul. So thank you, Paul. But also is about putting yourself in the room with someone who's like you, doing what you're doing, who's doing things a step or two ahead of you or doing things slightly different. And it's when you have that opportunity to sit next to someone and see what they're doing and you can relate to them, you're like, oh, if they can do it, like, so can I. Like, I don't think Paul got straight A's in school either. So that's like called the power of proximity. And that's why I have a mastermind group, and that's why I get PTs together, and that's when, I started going to CSM. We get people together for a social hour. And I was like, that wasn't the only reason that I hired. And Paul wasn't like, yeah, you need to hire, but it was like, we talked about it, and we talked about all the things. And I left that day seeing how it was possible for me, because everyone up until that point who was a PT had told me it wasn't possible. It said, it not like encouraged the vision. So that was really cool. So it's like I got to see someone else do the same. Like I'd seen people here in Greensboro do it, but they own a restaurant or they own an in-network practice. And it's like, I don't have an in-network practice. And Paul has a cash practice that's in England where healthcare is free. It's almost free here. We know it's not free here. People think it's free. So that was for me like a turning point, was just being able to see someone walk through. And I don't even know we walked through his hiring process. We didn't walk through his hiring process. We were talking about our courses and coaching and that kind of stuff. But it was just having that interaction and seeing that was really awesome. If you want to see what's possible for you and you'd like to come sit next to me or sit next to me and some of my other clients and do it, like maybe that's where our Cash PT Platinum Mastermind is the next step for you. And that's for PTs doing at least 10K a month or more who want to be in a room of other PTs who are big time go-getters crushing it, because all it's going to do is give you not just more information, but more insights, action steps, and a vision for what's possible for you. So if that's you, you can always go book in a call with me, callwithaaron.com, and we can chat and see if you might be a good fit. So here's what happened. So I had entered this time bottleneck. Here's why I decided to hire someone. I had entered this time bottleneck. I'm busy seeing, 20, 22, 24 people a week. Invariably, I got a beard hair in my nose. Invariably, when you're busy, people will cancel. And I knew treating 26 people a week was a lot. If I saw 26 patients a week the way I treat, that was too much. Some weeks I would do that. And then generally it would be 24 people on the schedule, and I'd have one or two cancel or move to the next week. And so I'd end up seeing 20 people, 22 people, sometimes 18, but those are on shorter weeks. And those weeks, 18 was a really sweet number for me. Honestly, 18 patients a week, I could jam with that. And that allowed me to spend time on my business, spend time at home with the family and kids, etc. But I still entered this time bottleneck where I was busy with my schedule. I'm growing my coaching business, and people wanted more and more of my time. And I'd see patients from 8 to 1, but then I'd have 4 or 5 phone calls. Even on a Monday, I had 4 or 5 phone calls to return, new patients to reply to, questions from patients, etc. And I could kind of do that later, but I couldn't do that when I get home. And then it's approaching 2:00, but then, I need to be home by 2 to swap off with my ex so she could come and start seeing her clients at 2. So it put a lot of pressure on me. And I was doing my notes later at night. I wasn't doing them the next day, but it's on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, when I'm working late, I'm coming home at 7:30 because I've got all these calls to return and notes to do. And I just entered this big time bottleneck, a little bit of an income bottleneck, but it was more time. And so I decided I needed to hire someone. And so here's what hiring did for me. It allowed me to buy back my time. I bought back at least an hour a day. So I have someone answering the phone, someone calling people back, scheduling them for their first visit, rescheduling them. I didn't have to do any of those phone calls. I would do some, but I didn't have to do those phone calls or those emails. And, I think the biggest question for a lot of people is, especially the first hire, is this is going to cost a lot. Yeah, it is. It's going to cost a lot if you let it. So let's say you pay someone, let's say $100, what's the right? Let's say, I want to make this easy. I'm trying to make this easy math. I'm not going to hire an administrative assistant for $100,000 a year, but let's just say it's $100,000 a year. As an employee, you've got payroll, tax, expenses, benefits, etc. It's going to cost you another 25 to 30 something percent. So it's going to cost you $100,000 employee is going to cost 125 to 135,000, depending on what the benefits are and etc. So think $50,000 a year employee is going to cost you another. It's going to cost you $70,000 or something. I'm not the type of person that knows the exact metrics. I more go by feel than let me get the hard numbers, because I don't enjoy sitting and putting together the hard numbers. That's not my personality. But consider that a 50K employee is going to cost you $75K. Wow, that's a lot, Aaron. I don't barely make that. Okay, then if you're busy and you're barely making $75,000, there's a problem that we can work on. You have a different bottleneck than hiring. Before you hire, we have to have valuable time. And so let's just say you're charging $100 an hour to see patients, and you're spending an hour a day doing other things that you could hire someone else out for. Hire that person out at $20 an hour, and now you're up $80 on your time. Because if your time is worth $100 and you can hire someone else at $80 to do that, now you're up $20. So that's kind of it's like this arbitrage. Another way to think about it is this. If you spend 4 hours on a Saturday doing laundry instead of spending time with your kids, why wouldn't you pay $24 to have someone else do that laundry for you so you can spend your time with your kids? And if you're like, no, that $24, I need that money. Okay, maybe you're in a really tough place financially, or maybe you don't value your time with your kids. And, maybe both. But to me, I'd rather spend time with 4 hours on the weekend with my kids, because to get them to help me fold laundry is like pulling teeth. I'd have someone else do my laundry for $24. It's easy. There's an app. It's called Poplin. It's dope. If you want a discount, I don't know, DM me with the word laundry. I'll send you a discount code because I think it showed up on my app the other day when I did it. It's time arbitrage. Hiring an employee is the same thing. Busy people buy back their time. And it either starts with employees and tasks in your business, or it can start at home. So maybe it's having someone clean your house once a week, mow your lawn once a week, someone else do your laundry, maybe someone else do your dishes. The busier you get, some of the top executives have house managers, and it's like makes me living in my house feel like a hotel, or they're personal assistants doing shopping for them. And if you don't care what you eat, why are you spending an hour at the grocery store? You should spend an hour with your kids, family, or at the gym, or working with clients. So same thing. Okay. So, I think at the time I was charging $135, maybe it was $150, but hiring Sarah, who was my first employee, at $15 an hour bought me back at least an hour a day, and definitely more. But let's say it was an hour a day. That meant I was paying her $120 for the day, plus some extra $150 for the day, with payroll taxes. I was charging an hour, $150. So now she gave me back an hour. It meant I could get home sooner, right? It meant I could see one more patient later in that week or two, instead of doing laundry at the clinic, answering the phones, changing rooms. I could get my notes done between patients, get the room set up, or she would do that while I was checking someone out. I could spend an extra 5 minutes with people, giving them instructions on their exercises. That was like massive shift. And it also allowed me to fill my schedule, because there'd be weeks when I was super full, and then I couldn't get back to phones, and then I'm empty and I can get back to all the phones and I can schedule people in. But because she was always there helping me schedule new people in, it gave me an extra hours to do the marketing and do the outreach, to keep things full and steady. And still things would, go up and down. And it gave me extra hours to work on my coaching business, which is growing as well. And it gave me back time to focus on things that were important to me, like family, marketing, building out back-end systems, raising my rates, because I felt like raising my rates I had to provide some more value. Okay, cool. And then focus on hiring the next PT. And so here's what I did to hire. It was create a list of job duties. Like, here's the things that, that I could have someone else do. And I built out some SOPs, which are standard operating procedures. I built some of those out as we went. I had a few before we started. I set up a hiring funnel with a series of tasks that for people to do. I've got a whole training for our coaching clients it's called the Cash PT Hiring Automation. And I did a masterclass on it. It's fairly simple. The number one thing, you can copy my stuff when you're a client, but the number one thing to remember is you have to sell the position. You can't offer, you can't offer the same position to everyone. Right now, PTs are really hard to find, and you really have to work on looking at it as you're selling this position so that someone can come generate a couple $100,000 a year for you, or save you 10, 15 hours of time a week, which the admin saved me easily 10 hours a week. And she was working here 40 hours. So she did a lot more than just 10 hours a week worth of work, and helped me multiply my time. It was great. Okay. So I set up a hiring funnel, which is more than just a job description and, send me a resume. There's specific tasks and things I want people to do to make sure they're paying attention and that they're really interested in the job, and to know that they're a high quality candidate, so I don't waste my time reviewing hundreds of resumes. I posted it everywhere, ended up with 5 candidates think I interviewed 3 of them in person, and I chose from them, and I chose the one that I thought was the best. I think I made the right decision. But you never know. I mean, one person was like new in town, didn't feel like a great fit. The other person was kind of busy and had their own business. And then the other person was like, I think I hired Sarah. I think I might have hired her part-time and moved her into full-time because I wasn't sure also. And she was okay with that. And you know what? I can't even remember, was she full-time or part-time? But I think it was part-time-ish, maybe moved to full-time, but she was here a lot and was with me for little over 2 years, 2.5 years maybe. Number one reason to hire is buy back your time. Second reason to hire, like let's say you're hiring a PT and you're busy, you're still buying back your time. You've got a wait list. You hire a PT, you move as many new patients and existing people to their schedule, and now you've got more time to grow your business and do marketing to fill your schedule, not their schedule, because you filled their schedule. But now we want to fill 2 people's schedule. And then you go and you fill your schedule, and we hire a second PT, offload all the people to them, and now you've got more time to do more of the marketing and the back-end systems and the training and the leadership, and you just keep going until you hire enough people out and build your business enough so that you don't have to treat patients unless you absolutely want to. But as the business owner, your best bet is the marketing and sales versus the delivery of the service. So that's why you want to hire. And it allows you to grow your business and multiply your time and your income and generate revenue and impact even when you're on vacation, when you're at home asleep, or you're teaching, mentoring, coaching, doing other things in life. Okay, so who do we hire first? You know, a lot of people, there's a big debate around, do I hire a PT first or do I hire admin help first? And, you know, if everything was even and equal, we could say, hey, cool, let's go pros and cons. What's the biggest need? Right now, it's September 2024. If you're looking at making your first hire, my best bet would be to say, go hire an admin. Hire like a part-time admin or even a full-time admin, because they're going to buy back your time for the things that are important. Hiring a PT, yes, you may be busy with patients, and hiring a PT may feel like, okay, I don't have to have people on a wait list and I don't have to work as hard treating patients. But PTs right now are much harder to find, and they're more expensive. They cost more. And, you know, it might take 3 to 6 months to hire a PT. It could take a year. You never know, depending on where you live. But I have clients in San Diego and Houston who've had a hard time finding PTs. And you know, there's thousands of PTs within driving distance. You aren't like, if you only had a job in, you know, Buffalo, New York, I'd work for you. Like that are unwilling to move for a great job. So, but there's a lot of people out there willing to do, to do administrative work, to be an administrative assistant, etc. So right now, if you're making your first hire, I go build out the process to hire an administrative assistant, because at least you'll have an extra 10 to 12 hours a week and someone else to do some of the more day-to-day tasks. And just to be clear, I'd never ask someone to clean the toilet bowl when I wouldn't do it myself. Like, I've done it and I will do it. I don't like to do it. So I'm going to hire someone to do it, but they won't be doing anything that I would never do or haven't done myself. So that's what I would do. Right now, go hire an admin. If you've already got an admin who need to hire a PT, better get started, because it may take a while. So that's the end of that debate for 2024. It may change, but there's more jobs for physical therapists than there are physical therapists, and most places can't pay enough to keep their physical therapists. So that's one reason cash, and 2 reason why you need to charge more, because if you're undercharging, you'll never be able to afford to pay another physical therapist the salary that they want. I spoke with a couple in-network business owners recently who have decently large practices, multiple locations, and they have PTs leaving to open their own businesses because they're going to make more money doing that than they can get paid, because insurance isn't paying enough. And these guys have like 2%, 3% profit margins when they used to have 20. And they don't have wiggle room to pay anyone anymore. So that's also a reason why make sure you're charging the right amounts if you're doing it as a cash practice. But number one is, if you are busy, you need to be charging enough so that you can pay someone else, but also generate an income from the work that you've done and that they're doing to service your clients. So here's a couple problems and lessons from hiring over the years. People you hire will not stay forever. I thought, okay, I'll hire them, I'll fill the seat, and like I don't have to worry about a vacancy there. Like, let me go hire the next person and keep growing. It's just, they're not going to stay forever. Number 2, employees are not you. They're not going to do things the way you do it. They're not going to see the things the way you do it. They do not have your brain. They cannot read your mind. And they're just not going to be as efficient, and they're not going to work as hard because it's your business, not theirs. It's your baby. They'll take care of it if they believe in it, but they're not you. So you need to be able to, when working with employees, virtual assistants, etc., you need to give them clear instructions and clear expectations. Like, here's the problem we're solving. Here's what done looks like. Here's the 6 steps to get started. They need to know, what does the outcome look like? And I could get better at this myself. But they need to have clear instructions. It's almost like it's great to have it in writing, have a checklist, do it verbally and visually if it's a visual task, like how to do something on the computer or folding or setting up the room. I've got videos of a lot of these things. Other thing is you're going to have to fire someone. You just are. The first person I let go was fairly easy because she didn't show up to a meeting, and we were chatting on the phone. And I was just like, hey, what happened tonight? I thought you were coming to the team meeting. She was like, well, I haven't been busy there and you haven't been booking me. And she started blaming me for stuff. And I was like, whoa, this whole meeting was around helping everyone meet her and understand like when to send people to her for massage therapy. And I was like, yeah, this isn't going to work. And I didn't really have to fire her. She just didn't come in again. I mean, technically I fired her, but then in 2021 and 22, I think it was 21 and 22, or maybe it was 22 and 23, I had to sit in front of 2 people individually and fire them. And it was one of the most painful things I've had to do. But it was at that time that I realized, talking with a couple of my friends and mentors, that I'd joined the club of an actual employer. Like, it's like, okay, hiring someone is one thing, but having to sit in front of someone and fire them, it's like, I think that's the saying that Baron Baptiste has, whose yogas I've studied, is the pose doesn't start until you're ready to get out of it. So when you're practicing yoga, the pose doesn't start until you're ready to leave, to get out of it. That's when yoga starts. And it's like almost like being an employer doesn't start until you've fired somebody, but yeah, you're going to have to fire someone. Your leadership will determine your results or determine how effective they are. If you're unwilling to lead from the front, your employees are going to resent you. If you're a micromanager, your employees are going to resent you, because I certainly resented my employers for micromanaging me. So the way that I lead is, here's the job I want you to do. Here's the results I want you to get. Like, let me know what you need to make this happen. Okay. So what I do is a couple things I tell my employees is, ask for forgiveness, not permission. Like, if you see a problem or see an opportunity, jump on it, take action, do it, go for it. Right. And then let me know about it. But, I'd rather speed wins. And so I'd rather you come and say, oops, I'm sorry, I messed up, than I never answered this question or I never jumped on this opportunity. And then the next one is called the rule of 2. Is I say, when you encounter a problem that you feel uncomfortable solving on your own, come to me with 2 possible solutions. Because that way I'll either choose one of those 2 and confirm that you had the right idea, or I'll give you the third option. But in that way, I'm not putting out fires all the time and solving problems. I'm helping them, and I get to choose solutions. So I don't have to come up with something new. It reduces the decision fatigue. And generally say, here's the 2 things I'm thinking of doing. And I'll ask and say, which one do you think would be best? And they'll tell me, I'll be like, yeah, let's do that. And it's usually right. Okay. So, this is like how you buy back your time. You got to hire someone. As you're growing your business, you're going to have a hard time getting over or staying over 30K without hiring someone else to do some of the work, whether it's a VA, an in-person assistant, another PT, or another coach, or someone else helping you like deliver, unless we're doing a one-to-many model the whole time. And even one-to-many model, you're going to have, even if it's like a coaching business, I mean, I've got employees in my coaching business because the customer service requests, the requests for time, the requests for interviews, the spam requests, people, hey, I can't get access to this course, etc. Like, you should have someone else doing a lot of these things, editing and posting social media and all these other things that, take time. I mean, it takes me 10 minutes to record a video, but it might take me 45 minutes to get it and edit it and make it into a reel and then post it. And invariably I get interrupted, or something happens with the internet, or Instagram's like, no, we can't post that now. Or it deletes my caption. And I'm just like, dumb stuff. You need to hire if you want to grow. Okay. So where are they now? I'll do a little bit about I've got some, I've talked about a lot of my employees on the podcast over the years. My first employee, Sarah, she moved on to get a job, I think at another company here in Greensboro called the Corporation for Guardianship. And one of the things was they were just able to give her, she had 2 young kids, single mom, and able to give her more benefits, I think a little bit more income, but more of a, like a career path line. I mean, it's great. I'm super happy for her. We've been in touch, and our kids go to the same school, and it's great. I mean, and I think one of the things about me is, I didn't think I didn't want to hire initially, and then when I did, I was like, cool. And then people are leaving. I'm like, oh no, what's happening? But I realized it was an opportunity to, find the next best person or the next better fit for me as I grew. Because as your business grows, people will not grow with you on the same trajectory. Man, as life goes on, your relationships are going to change because people aren't on the same trajectory. But you know what? If they're on their trajectory and they're happy and they're in a better position, to me, that's what's more fulfilling for me, is to know that. And so even my coaching clients come in and they get on a better trajectory and they're moving on, that's great. And if I know that, that's fulfilling to me. Sarah came, and then I hired Amber, and Amber was with me for almost 4 years as well. But then, things changed in 2023, and she moved on to another job, and I don't know where she is. I think she's doing something for herself. I don't really know. And right now, as things changed, you've heard, I went through a divorce and, all that stuff. I've got one employee in the clinic, and I used to have, we had 2 massage therapists. One was my ex, PT, and I was about ready to hire another PT right before the pandemic. And now it's a much leaner practice. We don't have massage, and, we're rocking and rolling, and it's doing the things that I want it to do, but it's different. And so now it's Dr. Chris and me. Up until last year, I had Dr. Caitlin was in there, and Chris was doing performance therapy, and now Chris is doing PT. And Caitlin was with me for 4.5 years, and now she's working at a healthcare tech company, but she's also has her own coaching business, helping barbell athletes, and I think other PTs training barbell athletes. I had Derek was my first Cash PT resident. There's an episode on it, a couple episodes with Derek. And Derek went and started his own business, and then he started doing more online marketing and Facebook ads. And now Derek's working with me again, helping coach our clients, as well as running a PT marketing machine that I'm using to run both my businesses for our software and marketing platforms. Tyler was the next Cash PT resident, and he has his own business now in Winston-Salem. And then that's when Caitlin came through after that. And now I've got Dr. Chris. Chris is awesome. We went to school together. He was a year ahead of me at Elon. He's such a great dude. And so, invariably, people are going to come in and people are going to leave, and you can view it as, and some people, and I had Brenna, I saw even today on LinkedIn. Brenna went from working with me for a little over 2 years to Twitter. And then she was at Twitter for just about 2 years. And then the whole thing changed with Twitter. It became a different platform. Elon Musk was like, you can't work at home. And I think that changed a lot. And she left Twitter. And then she's been at UNC. She works for the UNC School of Business, UNC Chapel Hill School of Business. And it was her 1 year anniversary from there today. And I was like, I saw that on LinkedIn. I just randomly logged in. I was like, holy cow, that's really cool. She's doing more of what she wants, and she's further along her career path, which is amazing. And And these are my employees. I have a lot of contractors now that I've been working with for years. I worked with, so slightly different contractors, and we can talk about that. Jake, Nicole, Laura. Laura runs my events, does a lot of my social media now, podcasts. So thank you, Laura. Nicole does a lot of our customer service and coaching business, and Jake ran Facebook ads for me for 7.5 years and did marketing strategy with me. And, but I'm not working with Jake anymore, which is fine because we both need different trajectories. So there's a lot of things around that where it's looking back, I say, hey, this is great. But when I was starting looking forward, I didn't want to lose anyone because I didn't want anyone to not like me. I didn't want to be the asshole. But as a business owner, you have to make tough decisions some days. And sometimes that means parting ways with people on your team who've given a lot to you and you've given a lot to them. But ultimately, I believe that doing that puts everyone in a better position. So that's kind of where they're at. Was there anyone I left out? There's a couple people that have come and gone that I don't know where they're at. There's some like Filipino VAs, like I didn't know them personally. But in general, you're going to build relationships with your team. But remember, you're the boss, so you can be friends with them, but you're not their friend. You're their boss. So just remember that piece. Okay, so here's what to do next. Hopefully that gives you some insights and lessons. Those are some of the big things for me. Here's what to do next. Okay, I own a business. This is for you. You own a cash practice and it's just you. And then I'm going to give you hey, you own a cash practice or you're in a network or something else. What do we need to do? Look, number one, and this kind of applies to you too. Number one, you need to make sure you value your time. You know what your time is valued at. And it's more than just $100. It's more than just $200. Okay, whether you charge that much or not. Okay, if you want to hire a PT, you must raise your rates above $150 a visit. Otherwise, you're going to be paying them $85 a visit, and you're not, and it's going to cost you another $25, and you're not going to have any margin left, unless you're doing high volume. $150 for every 20 minutes, and we can do a lot of high volume at a lower price. But if you're like me, like most people in a cash practice, you need to raise your rates in order to hire, and you need to be comfortable with that because your time is more valuable than you think, and the results you deliver are more valuable than you really understand and people know. Okay, then you need to decide that you're ready to make the shift and hire someone. You need to make a decision like, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to go all in on doing it. Because once you do it, it's a commitment. And then the next thing I would say to do is once you know you want to hire and you'd like some help, you'd like all the SOPs, you'd like the hiring scripts, job postings, you want the help making sure that not just we hire someone, we train them the right way, we get them the right scripts, we navigate these problems, whether it's you put them in charge of something and they go out and negotiate a rate that's way too low, or we have them treating and they're not keeping their schedule full, or people are dropping off. These are ongoing issues, and I'd rather you have that issue than I don't know what to do with my wait list issue, because a wait list doesn't really help anyone. So the next thing to do would be to book in a call with me so we can start building you a plan to grow your business and make a strategy for who to hire next, when to hire them, how to make it happen, make sure that it's profitable for you, helps your patients, and gives you more time and gives them a really great job. And to go book in a call, just go to callwithaaron.com, or you can find me on Instagram, send me a message, and DM me the word strategy, and we'll book you in for a new patient strategy call. Now, if you've already got employees, maybe I would love to know, did you learn something from this? The one thing that I think that can help anyone is to consider it and look at it why am I hiring? And I'm hiring to buy my time back so I have more leverage, more impact, and I can do bigger things with the time that I get, rather than hiring someone and expecting them to fill their own schedule. You need to hire someone, offload people, and then go fill your schedule again, and then keep their schedule full and keep growing. And if you want some help building that plan, building a 7-figure plan, or adding 100K, 200K in cash to your business in the next year, or if you're seeing 500 to 1,000 visits a week over in your practice and multiple practices, there's probably one or two things, little bottlenecks we can do to unlock to to keep insurance from killing your business and unlock cash inflow without really raising your rates too high, and keep your business going so that you can grow it, maybe even sell it. And again, like if that's you, book in a time to chat. We'll make a strategy. And I'll see you on the next episode.